Any fictitious characters. Now you can't give it out to Kobe. Sorry. That you want to say happy.
I'm looking it up right now.
I like the fact that you brought Kobe in there and stuff because it gave me an opportunity to look up some stuff. That's what I was doing real quick. Y'all know I have to do it. You know I have to do it. I got to go to my favorite dads. My favorite dads.
That's you for sure.
My favorite dad. Let me tell 2 quick stories on my end about fictitious dads. Like you said, you didn't know Kobe, but at least Kobe was a real father. Now, obviously, the 2 dads I'm going to throw out, these were TV or movie fathers, but the roles that they played. If you don't believe that images are important, understand, I mean, I won't even go down that road of why Hollywood spends so much time making sure we see certain representations, especially for Black men. So I don't take it lightly, the representatives, or I'll say the representation that Lawrence Fishburne spent as Furious Styles, that John Amos spent as James Evans, the representation of, and again, I got one of those videos that, I don't know where I'm gonna point to it. I may put a link below. A video that I did where I was analyzing some of the things that James Evans did on Good Times and how he really fought to be a Black father on that show when Norman Lear did not want him. Originally, they wanted Florida Evans to be a single mom. Tell me that wasn't for a reason. But anyway, let me quickly say, and what did they do? They killed James off the show as soon as they could and made her the single mom that they wanted in the very beginning. But real quick, let me touch on why these two. Let me start here with James Evans, because James Evans impacted me as a father before I was ever even a dad. Now I can't see my screen because the doggone Zoom thing came down. So I guess I'll start with Furious instead. Furious hit me. Boys in the Hood, my all-time favorite movie. But Furious hit me because he was a young father. And I saw myself because I was a young father with you. And certain things that happened with Furious growing up happened with my dad. So it was, when I saw that movie in 92, it was a strange convergence. Because on one end, I'm seeing Furious in my father. That classic scene to where the guy is in the house about to steal from them. He had broken in. Furious pulled out his gun, shot at him. The police came, had an attitude at his father, like, why you bothering us? And Furious standing up to the police. That was my dad all the way. And I remember being that kid like Trey, watching it like, I can't believe the police are treating my father like this and he didn't do anything wrong. And then I'm watching Furious cut Trey's hair. And at that same time, Furious cutting Trey's hair, I'm trying to cut your hair.
Yep.
And it's like, and I struggle with that because, we didn't have the same kind of hair texture. And I still wasn't going to pay for a haircut. What? You out your mind? Right. And I wasn't even bald. I wasn't paying for my own haircuts. I was cutting my own hair. And the conversations that they were having there. And Furious dropping knowledge all the time on his sons, explaining them about gentrification, explaining them about the street, explaining to him about women. And of course, Furious beefing with Trey's mother and visitation. And that resonated with me because of what I was going through with you. And so Furious Styles plays, sometimes y'all may even see I might have Furious Styles on the names of some of my older videos, especially. Furious Styles was the archetype of teaching me how to be a father, even especially when his son was about to get caught up in the street. And he said, give me the gun, Trey. Give me the gun. Because he realized there's only so much influence I have on my kid. My desire is just to keep him alive. And then we get to James Evans. James Evans is the first Black father, first father in general that I identify with on television. Again, James Evans, when I was younger, that was my dad in a lot of ways. From a protector, from a provider, 3 kids in our family, mom not working, my mother didn't work. And James and his hot temper was just like my father and his hot temper. Matter of fact, even the receding hairline is about the same. That's why I'm bald now. But James, the type of man James was, that was my dad. And then as I got older, I realized that's me as well. In so many ways, I'm kind of that James Evans type of dude by choice and just by default in terms of my personality, because James being willing not to go out and do certain things because he wanted to be at home with his family, he wanted to be at home with his kids. The importance of education with his kids, that impacted me of wanting to homeschool my children. I always tell this story. I remember even with me and your mom, one of the arguments we got into once was, it was about you doing homework in the summertime. Woo, boy. And, I remember it was like I was being so cruel, but it was funny because I look back at it. I'm sure a lot of you probably view him was like, what kind of dude make his kids doing homework? But for me, it didn't make sense that kids do not do homework in the summer. I don't get summers off on my job. So why do we stop learning for 3 months out of the year? So even before I became a homeschooling dad, that didn't make sense to me. So, if we would have fast forwarded maybe 10 more years, you would have been homeschooled, or man, that would have been a real big argument, because your mom would have been like, no, he going to school. And I'd be like, no, I think he should be homeschooled. And that really would have been something. But it was just part of me, that importance of education. I did not see a reason why you should not be learning during the summer. You should be learning. You should be working on some book reports. You should be doing some work. You should be getting sharp for that next grade. And that was even when I didn't have any quote unquote skin in the game in terms of for school. I was out. Actually, I was trying to go back to school myself then for college. But that again comes from James Evans, seeing I know the importance of an education, what it's going to be for my son, that he needs to go ahead and get that. So I'm going to say happy Father's Day to Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh yeah.
AKA Style. Happy Father's Day to John Amos, aka James Evans, because y'all made me, or one of the reasons you made me into the dad that I am today. Any fictitious characters, and you can't give it out to Kobe, sorry, that you want to say happy
I'm looking it up right now. It's Uncle Phil. It's Uncle Phil all day. Because you got to look at Uncle Phil and how he was with Will. Look at, and I think Fresh Prince, that's my favorite show. So Your Good Times is my Fresh Prince.
Okay.
Uncle Phil, look at Will. Will didn't have a father. Mm-hmm. Will's father walked out of his life. Will comes to live with Uncle Phil and his family. And he is kind of not forced, but has to take on that role of being a father figure to somebody else's kid. And he doesn't have to. He could easily tell him to leave. And I don't know, have you watched the new Fresh Prince yet?
I haven't watched the new one.
Well, it's interesting because it's not really a family show. It's more of a serious show. So it kind of gets into more serious topics. And this Uncle Phil could have easily kicked Will back home. Easily could have told him, I don't want you here, but he didn't. He took on that role and he said, I'm going to be the father figure in your life. And I'm not going to give the because there's a part in the show. I don't know if you're going to watch it, but there's a part in the show.
I will.
They do touch on Will's dad and how he handles the situation between his father and Uncle Phil it's very interesting. But Uncle Phil would definitely be mine. James Avery, rest in peace to Uncle Phil. Definitely would be my fictitious father.
You know, I've seen some websites before that want to like shout out, or they rank the most influential Black TV dads, and Uncle Phil always gets mentioned. The guy from Family Matters gets mentioned, which to me I'd never understood that. But it's like
Uncle
but
Phil.
I think maybe it's my generation.
Yeah, Uncle Phil was definitely. He was. I don't know, Uncle Phil. He was a tough dad. You know, he was like a James Evans, where he was a tough dad, but he had that soft spot to him. And Will would always get that soft spot out of him. You know, he had that tough shell, but Will got that out of him. And especially the part that everyone cries at when Will and his dad walks out on him, and look who's there, Uncle Phil, gives him the hug. And that moment, that's not between father and son. That's just between, you know, a young kid that lost his or doesn't have a dad and his uncle, but he's a father and he's doing something he's being there for somebody that really needs him, and that's the whole dynamic of what I'm doing. I'm being there for somebody that really needs me. I don't necessarily have to be your daddy. You don't have to call me daddy, but I'm going to be that father figure in your life. So that's kind of why I would say Uncle Phil, because I can kind of relate to it.
Man, that's good. You know what? You may have persuaded me. I normally don't put Uncle Phil because I didn't watch, you know, I know every episode by Good Times pretty much by heart. I pretty much know the whole script for Boys in the Hood. I don't have that with Fresh Prince. However, I've watched it enough where you're exactly right. I think the only reason I didn't want to give Uncle Phil the benefit of the doubt is because probably of how what's his face and Hillary turned out. So it's almost they seem to be so over the top. It's like, that what? But look at those.
But you got to think, without Uncle Phil,
Carlton,
where would Will have been? What type of path would Will have gone down without Uncle Phil? Yep. Uncle Phil was a big part of Will's life, because when he came in, he was one of those young punks who just, I'm from North Philly, especially in the new one. The new one, you would love the new one. The new one is great. A lot of people didn't like it because they just felt like it was just too serious, and, you know, Fresh Prince was funny.
We don't want serious stuff these days.
But this one it touches on race, it touches on fatherhood, it touches on, you know, and especially fatherhood when it comes to girls too. So it's definitely a good watch. It's on Peacock, so I think it's free.
Oh, if it's free, it's me, baby. You know how we do. All right.
I know
cool.
it.